A new partner is not going to fix your problems from your past relationship. You need to work on that yourself. Having a new person come in is just going to put a band-aid on the problems that you've already got. And it's just going to...
Hello everyone and welcome back to Sex, Love and Energy. This is MJ and today I have an amazing guest with us. Lynn, how are you today?
Hello, thank you for having me. How are you?
Thank you for being here, sharing this conversation. The first question I do have for the audience is what are the things that fill your heart and it makes you feel passionate about it?
I would say my daughter. She's definitely up there. My me time, that is very precious to me. I love having time to myself, the beach, going to the gym, just having some quality time to myself and helping others. I'm very passionate, which is kind of why I do what I do. I'm passionate about helping others and letting others try see the good in their situation and find the glass half full in where they're at.
Well, let's come down into what do you do so people can get to know you a little bit more. And
Yep.
I'd rather you take ownership and instead of like me say it because sometimes I miss parts.
No, that's okay. So I'm a single parent coach, and some people know it as a divorce coach. So same kind of thing. So I work with single parents going through their breakup. So whether they're about to become a single parent, they're just about to leave their marriage or a de facto relationship, or maybe they've been single parenting for a number of years, they've repartnered. So I work with single parents that are going through those challenges, whether it be those challenging times dealing with their ex, because sometimes that can get quite toxic and quite nasty, dealing with dating, stepping back into the dating world, the loneliness, all these things that come with single parenting. So that's what I do. I work with single parents and just to help them to reframe where they're at. Instead of thinking it's a horrible place, instead of thinking being single is the worst place ever, just helping parents to learn to actually love where they're at and learn to enjoy being single.
Because being a single parent also comes with a lot of a struggle with the
Yes.
stigma, the taboo, the guilt of feeling like maybe the other part is missing and what can I do to raise these kids in a good way, right? It comes with a big responsibility.
Yes.
And as you mentioned at the beginning, you say you are very passionate, you are loving caring for your daughter. So you
Yes.
represent a lot of your clients as well because you have a personal experience here.
Exactly. And that is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because it's not just something I've read in a book. I've lived it. I know what it's like to go through these really tough times and to be at the lowest of lows. I've been there. I know what it's like. So I'm not just saying pull your head out and get with it. It's you can do this. You can get through this.
Absolutely, you can. And so, what will be because maybe some people they feel like they don't know how to express themselves, and what would it be right now the biggest emotional or challenge do you think someone can face as a single parent?
The biggest emotional challenge, probably loneliness, especially when they've been in a marriage or relationship for maybe their entire adult life and they don't know what it's like to be on their own. And that happens a lot. They've had a partner with them their whole life, and then the next minute they're gone. It's how do I do this on my own? I don't know what to do. And that is one of the biggest things, just learning to do life on their own and learning to adjust to that quiet time where it's just them. And that's the hardest things that many of them struggle with when the kids have gone to the other parents and it's just them. And that loneliness, that's where it really hits in. What do I do? And that's when they start to get the thoughts, oh, maybe I'm not good enough because I don't have a partner. Maybe I did something wrong, and they start to doubt themselves. And instead of actually learning to enjoy that quiet time and learning to make the most of it, they start to, some of them, well, it's quite common for people to spiral in that phase and start thinking all these negative thoughts. So the loneliness is definitely the most common emotion you will go through as a single parent.
So the loneliness come to the lack of self-worth as well, right? So I think this is a big challenge because some parents, unfortunately, I am not a parent. So for me, yeah, I'm always open to discuss topic that I don't know about. I have friends that are single parents and I've seen them, they challenge and struggle because sometimes they just relate with the confidence or the value as a parent with through the kids.
Yep.
But actually, what about the individual perspective?
So what do you mean by that? Sorry. So how do they find themselves without the kids? Is that what you mean?
Yes, because you say the first thing is the challenge when the kids going to the other parent and then they are with themselves because the lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
And then they feel lonely and they don't know how to bring value to themselves or literally value themselves. So how would be maybe some advice in that way?
Overcome that. And just on that as well, another common thing with that is when the kids have grown up. So the kids have grown up, they're now at a stage where they're starting to move out of home. And again, that loneliness kicks in. You feel like you've got nothing because your whole world has been revolved around the kids. What do you do? In this, when you're going through this, you need to start looking after you because your life, even though your kids are very important to you and your kids are your world, you are important too. You've got to start looking after your needs. And it's like I said at the start when you said to me, what am I passionate about? And I said, my me time. And that's what you need to do when you're a single parent. You need to find your me time. Go for your beach walks, go to the gym, go get a hobby, go out with friends. You've got to find stuff that lights you up. And that's what's important. When you become a parent, you become so focused on doing things for the kids, doing things to make the kids happy, doing things what they want instead of doing things about what you want. And so when you're feeling like this and you're feeling really lonely, you need to start finding things that make you feel good and make the things that light you up.
Because I imagine that loneliness and then they might feel guilt. Maybe that's the feeling when it comes to, oh, I don't have the kids right now and I'm going to start building my life again. Because at the same time, they have to, right? You have to allow yourself to maybe feel love again, feel connection, maybe have a sexual connection with someone else or intimacy. And that has nothing to do with kids. It has everything to do with yourself.
Yep.
So how would you navigate into this feeling of guilt?
And that's a big thing too. And so many single parents put off meeting someone because they feel guilty that they're not prioritizing the kids. But their needs need to be prioritized too. And that's one thing that's very important. One thing I do, discuss a lot is learning you need to look after yourself. You need to fill up your tank. You can't just keep doing for the kids and then maybe they're 18, 19, 20 years old and they've just all of a sudden moved out of home. And that's when I just discussed, what do you do now? Because you've got nothing. You need to start building up your life and start finding things that make you feel good without feeling guilty, because just as you look after the kids, you need to look after you. And that's the big thing that so many parents, especially mums who are the primary carer, feel like they don't have to look after themselves and they keep putting their needs on the back burner. But you've got to start realizing that you do need to look after you. You've got to find things that make you feel good without feeling guilty about that.
Try to find the balance on filling your own cup, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your cup full, it's going to be very difficult to feed your kids.
100%.
Exactly. Oh, I think it's okay. We come back. We are back again. It was something goes. I think if filling your own cup is so important, regardless that you are a parent or a single person, because otherwise, what else is going to be left in those moments when you have to face your life? And then you might find a balance with the other parent to look after the kids, but what about you?
And that's just it. And when you do fill up your cup and when you do look after yourself, you parent better as well because you're feeling better. So when you're in that better headspace, you go through life in a better headspace because you're feeling good. And when you're constantly neglecting your needs, that's when you start to feel crap and you start to feel down on yourself and you feel negative. And that's when you get all the thoughts. What for? What's the point? I'm not good enough. But when you start doing things that make you feel good, then you do feel good enough.
Absolutely. I do agree with that. When you start feeling your own cup, you definitely feel much better.
Yeah.
And you're able to expand yourself and share that energy with others, with your loved ones, your kids, your family, or whoever is next to you at the time. So I want to get into something a little bit more spicy here today, is the dating scene. Because women, I know they face a lot of rejection and taboo and judgment because are single mothers. But always I like to say this, they are single mother because there is a father who haven't looked after those kids, and then they have to take full responsibility. I do not agree with that taboo at all. And I always like to say that to clarify the point. Women, we are not they are not single mother because they wanted to be. Unfortunately, it's because they are aware that maybe the other parent, they're not going to take the responsibility. But when it comes to dating, what would be your advice for that mother that they want to start a new relationship and they found it difficult?
My biggest advice when going into the dating world as a single parent is don't just rush into it. Biggest tip I can give: a new partner is not going to fix your problems for your past relationship. You need to work on that yourself. Having a new person come in is just going to put a band-aid on the problems that you've already got, and it's just going to push them down. You need to work on what hurt you've already got, then go out and meet a new partner. So 100%, don't go in it for the wrong reasons. Don't go in it just for someone to make you feel better, and know what you want. Some people just go in and just hope for the best. Oh, they'll be the one. They'll be all right. Know what you want in a partner. Know what you're looking for is definitely one of my top tips.
I love that when you say know exactly what you are looking for. Because if you have to still carry on that baggage of your ex, it's going to be very difficult. And also, I want to set into the boundaries you have to set with a new partner, because you might need to keep that dynamic with your ex or the parent of your kids. How will you face that? Because for some people, it might be a new thing. I'm having a new partner, but also I need to keep looking or meeting my ex because of the kids. So how will you navigate that dynamic?
So what do you mean? Sorry, dealing with the co-parent whilst you're still wanting to meet a partner? Well, I would say your ex should not be involved in your dating life. Full stop. They don't need to be involved. Unless it comes to a point where maybe they get introduced to the kids' lives, where you don't want that to happen until it's a bit more of a serious relationship. But your ex doesn't need to have anything to do with your dating life. This is your ex, and they're only in your life for your kids. So they don't need to have commentary on what you're doing, where you're going, who you're seeing. They shouldn't have any involvement in your dating life. But as I just said, when it comes to a point where maybe this new partner is getting involved with your kids, then I'd say 100% your ex has every right to be introduced to this person, to see who is around, who this other person is that's going to be spending time with their kids. But prior to that, then your ex doesn't need to be involved in your dating life.
Totally agree with that.
Is that the question you were asking?
No, you got into the point. Exactly right. I have another question as well. What about if, let me get into the question. What about, I want you call some people out right now, because I know some parents, they're very easy to meet new partners and they just go straight to introduce it to the kids. How will be responsible or irresponsible about that? Introducing new partners in the early stages of a relationship where you're not even mature.
This is my podcast episode that came out today. It was actually this
Wow.
So my podcast episode that came out today is on the topic of when to introduce your new partner to your kids. And what I discussed in that is you need to have had that discussion with your partner that it's not just a fling. It's not just a bit of a casual thing. You're both in it for the long run. Now, unfortunately, you're never going to know if that relationship is going to last forever or not. It's just not possible to know that. But you want to know when you're going to introduce someone to the kids that you've had that discussion with them, that you're both looking for something long-term. You're both seeing a future together. Because if you don't see that, then don't involve them with your kids. So it's about, you're never going to know the exact time. There's no timeline. There's no, you've been together this amount of time, so you should involve the kids. It's all about you and your partner, how you are as a couple, and are you both at a place where you see a future together? If you are, then definitely introduce the kids, but don't involve the kids before then. And also you want to make sure that the kids, it's not too recent from the past breakup with the other parent. You want to know that the kids have also got through that breakup, because even though you're gone through the breakup, it still affects the kids. It still has an impact on them. So you want to know that they've had time to get over the breakup between mum and dad. They've adjusted to it before throwing a new partner into the mix and giving them to making the kids meet someone new when they're not ready for that. So those are a few things you need to take into consideration there.
Those will be dating standards. Just make sure that the person you are right now is someone who have the same vision that you, and maybe you're sharing the same values, and you are totally sure that you want to keep this person for a long term. Obviously, we don't know how long it's going to last. However, you are in the same page with that person and disagree with it. And now it comes to the parents who they knew we are dating, but both of us, we have kids separate, and now we're coming together. How will you face that? Because and then you're coming into this new dynamic, but also the parents as well. Kind of like yours, mine, and ours.
So blending the families with the two kids. So it's all, again, everything really comes down to communication and knowing that you're both on the same page. So if you're wanting both of your kids to meet, then again, you need to know that there's longevity in your relationship. You need to know that you're both wanting a future together. And then just take it slow. Again, there's no rush with that. But if you're talking about actually living together, then you need to have that discussion about responsibility, because quite often it happens where people move in together as a new relationship and they've got the blended family, and then it becomes a bit blurred as in responsibilities. Does this person tell your kids what to do? Are you allowed to tell their kids what to do? Having that responsibility, are you allowed to discipline them? And that kind of, a lot of people don't know how to handle that. But these are things you need to have that discussion with first before getting into that mix. How is this going to work with discipline? Are you going to be telling the kids what to do? I don't like you doing this with my kids, so please don't do that. It's about having that discussion and knowing where you both stand, what you want, what you don't want, really. So everything comes down to communication, really.
I'm going to summarize a little bit of those guidelines, I will say, for this new relationship. It will be, you just mentioned communication. Be clear what to expect and what you are allowed to do or not to do in this new dynamic. And it comes to discipline as well. I am maybe a direct and a strong parent, and maybe you are more permissive one. I think it having certain guidelines, but also comes from communication, what we expect and what we're going to do and what we're allowed to do with our kids and with my kids, with ours, or whatever comes. That's very interesting. I think people need to hear the guidelines. Well, this conversation went too fast. But before we wrap up, I would like you to maybe share advice. If someone feels right now, maybe I'm too old, it's too late, and I feel like I don't know if I want to get into the dating scene. I'd rather to just keep my kids, and then it's not for me. They feel a little bit down. What would you be your advice to bring them motivation and start living life?
The most common thing I see is people just giving up on dating completely because they keep getting hurt. They keep going through this same dating cycle where they meet someone, they get hurt. They meet someone, they get ghosted, or they meet someone, they get cheated on. It's this same toxic dating
goal. I have to say, the right person is going to come in the right time, and being with shame, it's not good for you, neither for your kids. So allow yourself to just live your moment. That's so powerful. It's better to be happy single instead of being in a toxic relationship where you cannot keep and cope anymore. 100%. I think it's brave. It's way brave than stay there and not be able to just be happy. That is the end goal. What would you want to stay in somewhere that you haven't been appreciated? There is no point for that. Well, that was amazing. I have to say, thank you so much for being today in this new episode. I really appreciate your time and the conversation. I learned a lot about single parents. Yes. Thank you so much for the audience watching us, and I'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.